Hello geeks, ghouls and exiles. I don't often talk about gaming. However, I do game, and one of those games I've been playing for quite a while is Path of Exile. In case you're not aware of Path of Exile, it's an action RPG by people who were playing Diablo 2 and thought it wasn't hardcore enough. I've been playing since when it only had 3 acts and no maps, so I'm an old-time casual. When there's a new league, I roll a new character and play. I mostly follow guides, and I'm such a casual gamer, I probably hit red maps and stop there. So yeah, not a pro gamer at all. However, I do like to read, and this channel is about reading fantasy, horror, sci-fi, so I thought that this is a good opportunity to combine my love for Path of Exile and my love for books, and recommend books to people who may want to read something similar to this game, Path of Exile. The first recommendation is very obvious. Maybe a lot of you have already mentioned that. Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. That's book 5 in a 10 book series. That's the core series. And Malazan Book of the Fallen is known for 3 things. First of all, it's infamous for being very complex, set in 4 different continents with numerous characters who oftentimes change names throughout the series. The lore is just thrown at you like you're aware of it, and you have to make heads or tails out of it. So yeah, it's reading Malazan Book of the Fallen can be considered a major feat because of its complexity and because at some point it's a grind. You guys play Path of Exile. You can keep track of the skill tree that is infamous for being intimidating when you first look at it. You can keep track of the Atlas tree and all the various mechanics that were added throughout all those leagues, all these years. You know how to craft stuff. Malazan Book of the Fallen will not be a problem for you. The second thing that this series is known is that while it's not the most successful in its genre, the genre of epic fantasy, unlike many other epic fantasy series that are more successful, the creator offers a lot of frequent and quality new installments. There is the main 10-book series, then there's a prequel trilogy, of which 2 books were published, there's a sequel trilogy, book 1 is published. There are 2 other series by the co-creator of the world, a friend of the author, that further elaborate on the Malazan Empire, because Steven Erikson is mostly not about the Empire, it's about the Empire fighting in other continents for dominance and intrigue, and also war for gods. So there is a lot of stuff to read. If you like what you're reading in the main series, I have not read everything by that. I've only read the main series and one of the Echelon books. And the third reason that Malazan Book of the Fallen is known is because the fan base is rabid. If there is a recommendation thread, like I want to read dark fantasy or fantasy, somebody is bound to say, just read Malazan Book of the Fallen. And yeah, that's basically the Path of Exile fan base as well. And so yeah, basically Malazan Book of the Fallen is the equivalent of Path of Exile in epic fantasy books, and that's reason enough to read it. However, it's also a dark epic fantasy. There's a lot of battles, mostly, large scale with armies and stuff like that. It's a sprawling world, it's very complex, the lore is deep. There are a lot of undead and curses and mortals fighting gods and slaying gods and all this crazy upheaval and this sense of doom and gloom that will be familiar to Path of Exile fans. And give it a try. First book is Guardians of the Moon, and you give it a try. If you can handle this, because it's not the best start, keep reading. I've done some videos about what are the challenges of reading the series and why you should read it. So yeah, there'll be links in the description below. Now let's go for my second pick. It's not the most well-known series, Quorum by Mr. Michael Moorcock. Michael Moorcock is a prolific author. He is very famous for 2 other characters, Elric of Melibone and Jerry Cornelius. and Korum is sort of like installment in his Eternal Cyber Saga, of which Elric of Melibon is part of. Basically, he has this eternal hero who is reincarnated in various dimensions in the multiverse and fighting either for law or chaos to restore balance, etc. And yeah, Korum is one of those characters. It's the story of an elf whose family is slain by humans in a world that's ruled by chaos, so he vows vengeance against the chaos gods, and equipped with 2 cursed artifacts that have major bad juju, he travels through the multiverse to destroy the chaos gods. It's not a perfect book. Michael Moorcock has written much better books. To be honest, I thought the first book was quite raw. The writing was quite raw. I thought that the ending was not as great. It was a bit rushed. But I think that the aesthetic and the world and the feel quite fits Path of Exile. And yes, Moorcock is kind of the granddaddy. No, not the granddaddy, the daddy of dark fantasy. So he was very inspirational to everything fantasy. So if you want to read something that's not Elric and that's closer to the world of Rayclast, Korum is a good place to start. There's a second trilogy that is mostly Celtic fantasy. It's centuries after the first trilogy, and I did not like it that much, to be honest. But I thought that the first trilogy, the Korum trilogy, is quite interesting concept to read. I'll also add another Moorcock series, Hawkmoon or The Runestaff Quadrilogy, which is equally raw, to be honest. It's not a perfect series in the Eternal Cyber Saga. However, it's set in a post-apocalyptic Europe, where the Brits are the villains. They all wear masks. They have a decadent empire that wants to rule over the world, and the protagonist is Dorian Hawkmoon, a German, who is looking for the mythical Runestaff to restore balance, and he goes through the continent of Europe in this post-apocalyptic world that's equally raw. It's a book of its time in the 70s. It was written very fast, its book was written in 3 days or something, but it has raw power, it has a great villain. The villains in this series are great, the main character is so, and it's kind of fun. It's not like recommends you must read them, but if you like this old school sword and sorcery fantasy style of books, then they're good picks to go through and read. Then we'll go for another classic of dark fantasy. This time we have Glenn Cook's The Black Company. One can say that the Black Company walked so Malazan could run. It's basically the story of mercenaries working for the evil empire, and they have to do a lot of stuff that they're not proud of. It's written like memoirs of the company's doctor, Croker, and if the doctor is called Croker, it's gonna be grim. There is this grim morality all over. I mean, the protagonists are aligned with basically Sauron's wife that was resurrected and has taken over Middle-earth, and she's not the greatest evil in the world. So you have an idea, you've got Nazgul type generals who are in fighting and seeming with one another. I have not read the entire series yet. I've only read the first 3 books. I think there are 8 or 9 in the series, so I cannot guarantee that it goes great towards the end, but it's definitely a very important series for the fantasy genre because it gave us grimdark. If Michael Moorcock is the daddy of dark fantasy, then Glenn Cook is the uncle who took it interesting places. Then I have to, speaking of series I have not finished, I'll recommend N.K. Jemisin's The Fifth Season. I've only read book 1. It's more modern. It's written by a woman, so yeah, you can joke about it. you know about fantasy bros don't reading women authors, and maybe that's true. However, it's a very fascinating novel. It's dystopic. It's set in something that is like post-apocalyptic fantasy Earth, and there are people who control the Earth. They can stop earthquakes because earthquakes happen, and they're enslaved. It's basically told through the lives of three women of different ages. The first book, at least, and all three of them are origins. I thought that the little girl's story was quite fascinating because of how she is enslaved. It's quite grim. It starts with the world ending, an apocalypse happening. The writing is great. However, I could not connect with the voice of the author. That's something that annoyed me. And yeah, it's not recommend, but give it a try because I think it fits the post-apocalyptic feel, and it's all quite fantasy. It's like, you know, when you enter the tower in the third act with the machines and the scion that is tied to the machine the first time you play through Path of Exile. That what came to my mind connected to the series. It's not an obvious take, but yeah, I think that give it a try. You may like it more than I did. Those were my 5 recommendations of books you may like if you like Path of Exile. And I want to know if you have any other suggestions. Leave a comment below. And stay safe, Exile.